Well, hello, my honor students. I hope you've had a great break. For my 8th graders, I will do a Zoom Tuesday at 6. Tuesday at 6 for if you have any questions or want to review anything. So I'll open it up for 20 minutes. Of course, I can keep it open longer if you have questions, but if no one shows up, I'm not going to stay open. Also, we're going to have a test on radicals and what I've covered with imaginary so far on Wednesday. So Wednesday we'll have a test on that. Of course, we'll have videos on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Now, we're going to do two things today, dividing by imaginary numbers, and we're going to do powers on the next video. So if I say, what is 6 divided by I? Now remember, there's a rule that you're not allowed to have a radical in the denominator. So we have to get rid of the I because technically it has a square root in it. So what would you multiply I by so that the I would disappear? Well, it'd be I. Because if you remember, it'd be 6I divided by I squared. And I squared is -1. Now, we had videos last Monday, so if you didn't watch them, I'd watch them before Wednesday. So if I had 7 over 3I, the 3's okay. So I'd multiply the top and the bottom by I. So it'd be 7I over 3I squared, and that would be a negative. I squared's -1, so that would turn into -1, so it'd be -7I over 3. So that's pretty easy. If you have a term multiplied to an I on the bottom, then you just multiply by the I. But what if I have 1 over 3 plus I? Well, if you remember your square roots, you multiply by the same term but switch the middle sign. Now, that actually has a name to it. It is called the conjugate. When you have the same two terms, but the middle sign is opposite, it's called a conjugate. It's also what a prisoner says to another prisoner when we want to see if they understand something. Conjugate. So the conjugate is just switch the sign in between the two terms. So I'd have 1 times 3 minus I is 3 minus I. But if you notice the bottom, 3 times 3 is 9. 3I minus 3I is 0. And I times minus I is minus I squared. But I squared is -1. 9 minus a -1 would be 10. So you just multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate. So let's say I have 3 over 5 plus 2I. So I'd multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate, which would be 5 minus 2I. So what we're doing is we're setting up the difference of squares. And when you do the difference of squares, if you remember, the middle stuff drops out. So I'd have 15 minus 6I over 5 times 5 is 25. 10I minus 10I is 0, minus 4I squared. But I squared's -1, so it'd be minus 4, which is plus 4, which would be 15 minus 6I over 29. 25 plus 4. So let's look at another one. 4 over, let's make it even challenging. 4I times 6 minus 2I. So I multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate, which would be 6 plus 2I. 6 plus 2i. So distribute, that'd be 24i. 4i times plus 2i would be plus 8. Boy, I'm messing up. I squared. Then the bottom you got 36 minus 12i plus 12i is 0 minus 4i squared. So this would be minus 1 times 8 is minus 8, so it would be minus 8 plus 24i. All over, I squared is negative 1, minus plus, so that would be 40. Then is there a number that goes into all three terms? If there is, we can divide by that number. If there's not, then you can't. But there is, isn't there? 8. So I'm to divide everything by 8. We'd have minus 1 plus 3i over 5. Whee! So try two problems for me here, please. 10 over 7i. And, okay, 3 over 6 plus 3i. Freeze the video, do those two problems, and then turn me back on. So I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by I. So you'd have 10i over 7i squared. But wait a minute, I squared is negative 1. So it'd be minus 10i over 7. This one you multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate. So it's 6 minus 3i, 6 minus 3i. So distribute the 3, it's 18 minus 9i over 36. 18i minus 18i 0 minus 9i squared. R squared is negative 1. It'd be minus 9 would be plus 9. So 18 minus 9i over 45. But then you say, is there a number that goes in all three? And there is, 9. So it'd be 2 minus I over 5. Woohoo! Thank you very much.